And welcome back to the third T20 International between Austria and Belgium today. We are starting at 10:15 in case you were wondering why the match hasn't been started yet and it isn't on the way. The players are warming up already. We have everybody on set, on the ground, and we are just waiting for the umpires to walk onto the field and be ready with the players all together. Herzlich willkommen zum dritten T20 International zwischen Österreich und Belgien Frauenmannschaft. Wir haben einen verspäteten Beginn heute um 10:15 Uhr. Falls Sie sich schon gewundert haben, warum die Umpires und die Spielerinnen noch nicht am Feld sind, einfach 10 Minuten Geduld. Sie kommen gleich. Die Spielerinnen sind schon bereits dabei, sich aufzuwärmen. Die Belgierinnen dehnen die Schultern, die Österreicherinnen dehnen die Schläger. Jetzt wird schon gleich losgehen. Und an Seite mir ist Richard Asher. Richard, herzlich willkommen. Richard, welcome.
Guten Morgen, Suraj, und danke, dass du mich auf Deutsch so schön vorgestellt hast. I'm not going to risk it any further because there'll be a mistake sooner or later. His German's better than mine, but we'll try and keep it a little bit more dual language today as we are in Austria after all. So he's already done the introduction and explained that we have a short delay today to the start, but it's only going to be a matter of moments. There is milling happening near the boundary ropes as we speak, and people are going to be getting into position real soon. So just to recap what's happening in the series, in English at least, if it hasn't been done already, that is, this is the third of the 3-match series, and the series has already been decided in Austria's favor, having won both games quite comprehensively yesterday. And just to go through the housework a little bit on that, I'll tell you, remind you of what happened. The first win, Austria made 187 for 2 with a century for Andrea Metzepera, and the target was made 198 for Belgium as a result of penalty runs, and they didn't come close. 79 for 3 they made, batting out their 20 overs. And then in the second T20, following that 119-run victory for Austria, it was a 113-run victory for Austria. Very similar in many ways. Cepeda didn't get a century, but she did get a half-century, making 63. Well supported by Joanne Stiglitz with 42 not out. And Austria amassing 10 runs, more than they did in the first game, getting to 197. Very, very nearly a CBON Women's T20 International record. Again, penalty runs. Again, the target was adjusted, and Belgium were chasing 213. And as I mentioned, the victory margin, 113, which should tell you that they made it to a nice round 100 for 3 at the end of the game. That with Nicola Thrupp registering the first international 50 for Belgian women in T20 internationals, because she made 52 not out, carrying her bat throughout the innings. And a lot of history being made for Belgian cricket in general yesterday, because those were their first 2 T20 women's internationals ever. So the prognosis for today, Suraj, as we look ahead to this game, what do we think? Can Belgium respond? Can they come up with something to make this a closer contest?
First of all, thanks for this brilliant summary of yesterday's display, what we saw in front of us. Can Belgium make it, and will Belgium make it? This is the big question for today's game, and this is going to be the main story going into day 2 of this T20 International Series and going into match 3. I would hope Belgium can put up a big and a better fight. We've seen that if you take the first 2 or 3 wickets in the Austrian batting lineup, then they will struggle. They are finding it hard to score the big runs, and from there onwards it becomes a game of singles and doubles. And as the outfield is a little damp right now, just it being the Austrian and the lower Austrian autumn morning, we have a lot of dew on the grass, so the ball might find it at times easy to travel, but will become stale rather easily. So also the Belgian bowling lineup will have to find some answers to that. Belgian batting lineup will have to find an answer to Valentina Avilay. She has been very economic yesterday. Sadly, had to be taken out of the attack due to the 2 no balls that she bowled over waist height and could only finish 1.3 overs. And this will be the question today. Can Austrian bowling lineup find their lines, their lengths better than yesterday? And Belgium, can they profit on any mistakes the Austrian bowling is going to offer them? And by doing that, improve on what they scored yesterday. And Belgium has a rapid growth. They have scored in the first match 79. They scored in the second well above 100 runs. The first 50 for Belgium Women's International came yesterday at the hands of the captain Nicola Trupp, and she will be looking into improving on that. But one has to wonder, have the Belgians been going out at night yesterday in Vienna, or have they had a good rest and are ready to fight for the third T20 International today?
Well, I haven't done my research on exactly that question this morning. I know they're not in the most lively part of town where they're based near the UN, so that may have contributed to keeping them quiet. Also, it was a very long, hot day yesterday, and, well, you never know. These youngsters may have energy to party, but I suspect they look pretty fresh, is what I can say. Looking at the team getting ready now, they look pretty fresh this morning.
It is 2 minutes to go. The umpires have already asked for the match ball. One umpire is standing already in front of us with the match ball. Belgium is on the field. There is a team huddle going on. The surely plans being discussed about how to go forward today, how to defend in their bowling, how to attack in their bowling today. Opening pair will be looking into the Austrian camp, Andrea May Cepeda and Bushra Ucha once again. So, Belgium, everybody on the ground, even the last fielder has made it to the ground with a cap. And if I'm not mistaken, that is Bairstow, who has been running slightly behind everybody else onto the field. And Austrian batters are now waiting for their turn to come onto the ground.
Now that brings me on to another little piece of research I've been doing this morning. I finally managed to catch up with the young lady we were calling Anja Bairstow yesterday. And turns out that we should be pronouncing it Bairstow. So let's correct that. Just think of beer. It shouldn't be too difficult. It is a name of French origin if you go back far enough. She is half American, half Czech by ancestry, but playing cricket for Belgium now. So we have to say Anja Bairstow. A little thing to correct for today. Another thing to go through on the Belgian side is, of course, team news. There's not a lot, but one change. We did see Nikita Verma go out yesterday with the wrist injury just early on in the game. So she was in the 11, but only played a few balls and then was taken off injured after just an awkward fall in the outfield. So the news there is that she is keen to play, but she is being rested. There's nothing seriously wrong with the wrist, just a bit of a bruising. And the upshot of all that is that Hinduja Venigala comes into the team, and Susan Parker, who effectively played yesterday, although wasn't in the starting 11, is now back on the bench. So just the one change for the Belgians, who will be fielding after Austria incidentally won the toss and elected to bat today. So that's going to be 3 out of 3, Austria batting first. And the Austrian team news is possibly good news for the Belgians who are looking for an increased level of performance today. That there are 3 changes, and Austria have decided to clear the bench in this, well, I suppose, I don't like the term, but I guess it's a dead rubber. They've already won the series, and they're giving everybody a go today. There are a couple of debutants in the Austrian lineup, I beg your pardon. Will that be good news for Belgium? Time will tell. But Raphael Letrebinger and Priya Ponraj are going to get their first games today, so look out for numbers 14 and 5. Also into the starting lineup for Austria comes Ashman Saifi, number 7. Out go Haji Van Bula, Saujanya Chamundaya and Shreya Reddy.
As we see, the Belgian keeper already are rotating the shoulders, so getting warmed up. We will have the similar and we will have Nicola Trupp opening the bowling attack. And to mention a few names again, the umpires today are Alala Santos and Mr. Dharmendar. Santos currently at square leg, Dharmendra on the non-strikers end as the main umpire for now. Nicola Trupp throws a cap to the ground, has a runner mark, and is about to start her spell.
Cries of Gemma Österreich, let's go Österreich, let's go Austria, coming in from the Austrian bench, with Bushra Utsa taking strike, as she did yesterday for the first ball. This opening pair set a high standard yesterday, set a great foundation in both games, particularly the first with a century opening stand. And here we go with game 3. And the Belgians seem happy with the result there. Just a reminder, we're not sitting behind the wicket and don't see all the pictures you're seeing, so we can't tell exactly how wide the ball is coming down. But that wasn't called, and that's got to be a clear target for today because there were just too many wides from both teams yesterday. It's got to be tightened up, and so far on the evidence of the first 2 balls, early days yet, but Thrupp is doing exactly that.
Thrupp starting off well today, and one has to assume that Ucha is also looking into improving on her collection from yesterday from runs. I would assume that she would want to go into the double digits and into the 20s. And now there might have been a single on the offer here, but the striker declines the offer from the non-striker, from Zepeda here. And single declined. This will be the 3rd dot of the over. Good start for Belgium.
Some good running there from the opening pair of Austria. I think there were times yesterday from both teams when that might have just been a 1. But time in the middle also teaches you how much you need to respect the throw. It's something you just can't learn in net practice. And just having the time in the middle they had yesterday, their running should only improve. It was already good yesterday, despite the run out in the first innings. They put on 100 by the time that happened. And it's another tight one. There's certainly no evidence of too much partying last night from the Belgian skipper here, because we are 1 ball away from a wide free over.
To bring you the field setting for Belgium, it's rather similar to the power play overs of yesterday. We have a long off and a long on. You have to wonder how if that is still needed. And the first wide of today's inning, the hands of Trupp. So that is the first wide of this match. Austria with that 3 for no loss. So going back to the field setting, we do have a fine leg and a short third man. There is a second wide being bowled, a backward point, extra cover, a rather wide mid-off, a mid-wicket, and a square leg. So rather defensive field again, because the fielders are on the circle and not pulled into the ground a little bit. Had there been, I reckon this single would have been stopped.
Yeah, it does raise the question of power play fielding tactics when there's been no evidence of big hitting so far. There are some levels of the game where you can assume that having as many in the deep as you're allowed to in the power play is a good thing. But on the basis of what we've seen, should it be an automatic move to say this is the power play, we're going to have long on and long off on the rope and give them a single like they just did?
No, certainly not. For me, I definitely would not go for 2 deep options in the power play against these two, especially not against Ucha. Against Zepeda, you might make the case that you would want to have somebody either square off the wicket or a deep extra cover maybe. here and there, but you don't really need for Ucha somebody at long on and long off. Definitely need to pull those in. Second over begins. We have Bierstow coming in to run. Bowls it nicely and manages to find the gap. Ucha has just made it for a 2. Brilliant stop from the captain from Trupp at the boundary. Barely touches the rope as well, but a good and safe collection of the ball back into the field and saves a good 2 runs here. Again, finding the length today is not an easy task for Bierstow. She was struggling yesterday slightly, and the struggles might continue as we've seen right now. It was a full delivery. Ucha manages to find bat on ball, and also the gap with that between fine leg and the backward square leg.
That one much closer to the mark and treated with respect. Bierstow running back to her mark, one of a couple of Belgian bowlers who like to do it that way. No evidence that anyone had too little sleep. I think the message realistically will have been, we've only got one game today. It is as hot as yesterday, but we've got one game. It's in the morning. Let's give it everything. We can sleep on the plane this afternoon.
A loud yes from Zepeda. She wants that single and she gets that single. Umpire signals are wide, so wide +1 in this case for Austria, and Zepeda pushes Ucha for a single through and takes her strike for the first time for today. And Bierstow is appearing to fix something with her head. We'll see what that brings anything. Bierstow runs in, Zepeda on strike. And a block. Potentially a single there again.
Yeah, as you just mentioned, most of the fielders are on the ring. You could argue that mid-wicket is just a little bit in, a little bit more attacking. You'd think hard about taking a single to her at the moment, but the rest of the fielders on the ring. But if they're alert, walking in and really attack it, then you'd think long and hard about a single. This is going to be another wide. And so far, they have looked pretty alert. We just saw a good bit of fielding by Thrupp in the deep, saving a couple where it might easily have gone across the rope if the fielder in question had gotten into a tangle, but she didn't. Leading from the front with the fielding, the Belgian skipper, and that should rub off on everyone. Seems to be a good spirit out there. Once again, under perfect blue autumn skies. And there we see a single snatched to a ring that is just a little bit too deep.
A little bit too deep sounds to be the motto for the Belgian fielding. All 3 matches that we've witnessed so far, the inner circle fielders are a bit too deep on the circle. The outside fielders are a bit too deep for the power play. But anyway, a bit news from women's cricket generally. Australia was handed their first defeat after 26 matches unbeaten. India women managed to chase down what would have seemed like an unchaseable total in that series so far, as they were not able to chase anything above 260 runs. And India beat Australia for Australia's first defeat after a long, long time. Until then, Germany had a rather unbeaten series of themselves in T20s. I think Germany went in about a total of 12 or 13 unbeaten matches before they were beat by Scotland earlier this year. And Australia, of course, going in the ODIs unbeaten 26 times in a row. That's a series the Undertaker would have been envious about. Another guide towards point and misfield at point, and Austria through for another single. Zepeda and Ucha rotating the strike rather healthy.
Yeah, it is all sorts of wrong when they can snatch a single before the ball gets to you, and then when you misfield it, there isn't time to take a second. You may as well come up then in that case, and if you misfield it, well, nothing's changed. They might get a second, they might get one to the misfield, or perhaps none. You lose nothing by just taking those couple of steps in. But as it is, they're rotating the strike. No boundaries yet. A peaceful start as the church bells ring out across the Seebahn area. It's Sunday morning in rural Austria. It's quiet. We didn't have national anthems this morning like we did yesterday morning, but the DJ has otherwise been quite busy in the run-up to the start of play. But now it's just that peaceful Sunday morning cricket feeling, and just wonderful to see international cricket here at Seebahn. You can have all the club games you like, but there's just nothing quite like country versus country. It just means that little bit more. And you were discussing the lofty heights of India and Australia, even Germany in European continental terms, and well done to India, by the way. The very lofty heights at the top of the rankings. Thrupp begins the third over, and again, it's a nice tight one. Just to put things into context here, Austria ranked, I believe, 47 in the world, which is in the lower reaches. There isn't actually a long list of teams that have rankings. Belgium, for example, don't have one at all because this is their first ever series. Nice decisive running there. Did go straight to the fielder and reasonably quickly. But Zepeda made it home to the wicketkeeper's end. Thrupp now in on the act of running back to her mark. The ball's getting a little rub down still, so it's damp out there, just slightly damp. The outfield will quicken up as this game goes on, so it should be advantage Belgium in that respect when it comes to hitting boundaries later in the day, when they come out to reply to whatever total Austria is going to set. Another one played very, very watchfully by Zepeda, who, let us not forget, amassed well over 150 runs in the two games yesterday. So if she's treating a ball with respect and the kind of form she's in, you have to know that Thrupp's putting it in the right place. But there's an easy single to release the pressure, and, well, I don't want to sound like a stuck record.
To put things a bit into perspective and context, Austria ranking 47 on the Women's International T20 rankings in the ICC. Austria has played 13 international matches so far. Of course, this is being Belgium's third match altogether. So where are our neighbors at, or neighborish countries at? France is 41 with 12 matches played. Next in line is Germany, the big neighbor to the north. And the Belgium uniforms would almost remind us of that. The Germans, they are ranked 24 in the T20 international rankings. And with they have already 20 international matches played. And another quick single between the wickets. It is the stuck record moment again. Put up the field, bring it a bit tighter in. If the ball passes the fielder, so be it. But you're avoiding exactly these kind of singles and not gifting Austria these 1 and 2 singles to release pressure every over.
We will stop going on about it at some point, but I should say, Suraj, we're allowed to be a little bit more critical today because they could have listened to our stuck record now last night in their hotel rooms.
Indeed, and you wouldn't even have to listen all through the matches. I reckon the stuck record moments are probably every other over, or maybe every over. But if you're bored of that talk, let us know in the chat. YouTube live stream is going on on with our partners at Pitch Vision, and we are live on YouTube and on pitchvision.com.
Just to have a little look at potential targets for Austria, we've talked about what they might be able to post today after posting 187 and 197 with the bat yesterday. And you can just see the pressure telling a little bit there. Still waiting for the first boundary. There have been more good balls than wides, more respectfully treated balls than anything else so far today. And there we see that play and a miss. And that's what you get when you manage to keep it tight.
Trivia facts for all the T20 International Women's nerds out there. Austria is the first country to play T20 International Series against Belgium, and Austria was the first opponent for the women's international team for Italy as well. And while we discussed that, there has been a first boundary for this inning. Andrea Mezepeda, of course, who else would it be, scores the first boundary of this match. This time around, though, Thrup not as quick as the ball as she was with the one brilliant save against Bushra Ocha. And the DJ is liking that boundary as well and celebrates with a style with the IPL soundtrack. And we have a Let's Go Austria, Let's Go from the Austrian bench. Andrea is liking the atmosphere and she's enjoying that as well. And why wouldn't you? Bierstow coming into ball again. She's rotating the shoulder. Maybe already signs of a little bit of fatigue. It is her third match and she has been bowling full 4 overs in the last 2 matches as well. And this time around there is a good delivery, guided into gully and a good save.
Yeah, and as Austria in this over open their boundary account, I'll just return to the thought of what they might amass today and what the targets might be. As I mentioned, 197 was very nearly a record yesterday, very nearly, but the record still belongs to the German women who were here last summer where they defeated Austria 5-0. And in the fourth game there, they made 198 without loss. And I think if Austria can go just 1 or 2, well, 2 better than they did yesterday afternoon, they can make that record their own. As there might be a second boundary in the offing here, and the scoreboard is starting to accelerate. I think it's fair to say that it hasn't been quite the flying start that we saw yesterday, so we may be premature in talking about getting to 198 plus, because the Belgians have been just that much tighter today, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the wide count at the end of the day is. We had a lot of runs go to wides yesterday. In fact, in the second game yesterday afternoon, 48 came off wides in Austria's first innings, whereas I mentioned they made 197 for 4, and the Austrians were hardly innocent either, 23 coming off wides as they easily defended that total. And Zepeda flays the bat. She's really got her eye in now. That one a little bit short and wide by the looks of it. And now the boundaries are starting to come. But even so, if you cut out the wides, it's going to be hard to get up to around 200, even if there are going to be boundaries now and then. And remember, they can spread the field in a couple of overs, should that be tactically necessary, the way the game is flowing. If they can, improving on 48 in wides should not be too difficult, and that's really got to be a big target for the Belgians here. And I think they can keep the score much more manageable just by doing that.
At the end of the fourth over, Austria is now at a 30 for no loss. But coming back to the whole fielding debate and field setting debate, we have a similar discussion, and we did have a similar discussion yesterday. Andrea does like well, she's not a one-trick pony, so she can score a little bit around the ground. We've seen 1-4 to fine leg. We've seen a 4 to deep extra cover. We've seen a 4. I'm sorry, the 4 was to deep point, and we've seen a 4 to wide long off. So, in the power play, one shot has gone towards long off, and that was a boundary. And we have two fielders parked currently still at long on and long off. Get your long off, put it to a deep extra cover, cut the area off, and limit Zepeda's striking abilities with the square bat towards point and covers. That would be my shout after the brilliantly struck 4 in the last over. And we still have Trupp bowling her overs, so that's the third over for her. It's fifth over ongoing. We have another wide in that over. And a good length delivery. However, the line is not quite right. Umpire signals a wide.
Again, it's watchfully batted away, and it's refreshing to see a few of those mixed up with the boundaries that are now starting to come. A bit more of a battle between bat and ball. That's what you want to see. And this is going to be that easy single now down to long off. And just to complete your thoughts, Suraj, of course, if they were up, you'd have to think about going over the top as a batter. And when batters think about doing that, they can, of course, get themselves out. And getting Andrea Zepeda out is key to keeping Austria's total low, manageable, and chaseable, as we saw yesterday.
It really is a talking point of all the habits, and you have served the batters now 3 times in 3 matches in 3 power plays with the same field and with a similar field. And of course, the batters are now aware if they are good enough, they will be aware, and they can select their shot positions and their shot areas accordingly, and then go for the singles and twos. Because by now they have seen the throws of the Belgian fielders, they have seen how strong they can throw and how tight their fielding can be, and who is the stronger fielder, who is the weaker fielder, whom to target, whom not to target. And with that coming into play, singles are being taken more constantly, more flexibly as well. Another wide. And there is some clapping on the outside, on the boundary going on to motivate Trupp as well to just get her line again. And there she does. She finds her line. Ucha has a cut at it and a single at point.
So Ananya Singh takes over the bowling now for what is an important over, the last of the power play with Ucha on strike. And really, really important that Belgium can continue to set a relatively good tone here. We've had scores, at least in the second game yesterday, of around 70. We haven't got the exact statistics available, but around 70 in the power play, the first 6 overs yesterday when Austria were batting. So looks like they've done a much better job so far, from tighter bowling, fewer wides, and a few other things could still be improved, as we've talked about, but they've got off to a much better start, the Belgians, from a fielding perspective today. If they can avoid any disasters for the rest of this over, we can say they've taken a huge slice of what they were conceding in that early power play. And they will now have the freedom to spread the field. Not that I'm saying that should necessarily be done yet, but they can if they need to, starting with the next over.
And with that 3, Austria moves to 41 for no loss. This is not the biggest partnership up front yet, as we see another wide being bowled. So yesterday, the first wicket fell in the 6th over, or after the 6th over immediately, as it was after power play, after roughly 70 runs. And I think we are hearing the coach once again reminding the captain that after the power play, he can push out the field. I'm pretty sure they will be pushing out the field once again. The ball rushes to the boundary, and we have 4 runs. Austria celebrates, Bushra celebrates. She is happily jumping in the air. I think that will be lifting a lot of pressure off her shoulders as well. She is delighted with that 4.
Yeah, she played a fantastic supporting role yesterday, particularly in the first game, making 25 and something of a return to form for her. But she hasn't been the senior boundary hitter. That's mostly been down to Andrea Cepeda and their partnerships, and that explains the excitement with that one. This one's a bit out of control. No ball even, not even a wide, because I think it's missed the pitch. Free hit time.
And that is no ball on height. The signaling of the umpire as well that was a height no ball. We will see Ananya now bowl again. And a good whack at the ball from Ucha once again. Can this go the distance? No, just not. 2 runs off this one. And the third was the offer. I think Cepeda was looking at Ucha for a third shout, but Ucha happy with the 2. This is turning out to be a neat over for Austria once again. Currently at 49 with 2 deliveries. The last delivery of the over to come. Ucha is accelerating a little bit and respects that delivery a little bit more and blocks it in front of her. With that, it's overcalled. Power play is over. We have a total score of 49 for no loss for Austria. And so we are hearing as well that it was a waist height no ball, however, not a warning for height, as not dangerous to the batter. So Ananya will be able to bowl another one of those and get to bowl a little bit more after that one. Usually, if there is a waist height no ball and it is a danger to the batter, umpires will give a warning to the bowler, and this is a warning for rest of the match. So should there be a second height no ball issue with the bowler at any time, this bowler will be taken out of the attack after this delivery has been bowled, and a different bowler will have to finish the over. We saw that happen yesterday to the Austrian opening bowler Valentina Avdelai. She had 2 height no balls the attack after 3 deliveries of her second over, and we had Joanne Stieglitz finish that over for her. 3 deliveries she had to bowl. So, of course, also a pity for Joanne Stieglitz. She couldn't bowl out her 4 overs. Her maximum was then limited to 3.3.
So that's Shweta Sina into the attack now, and with the power play now having ended, she's delighted her team colleagues with that one. She did have her difficulties yesterday, bowled 14 wides in the first game, and has been given some additional protection here with 3 on the boundary now, so cow corner as well on the boundary, along with the 2 at long on and long off.
Shweta Sinha bowls another wide. This time it is looking a bit cleaner than yesterday. Her run-up is a little bit more fluent. And of course, with bowling, so much happens because of your run-up and because of that rhythm that you bring onto the crease with your run-up. And this one, brilliant delivery. Zepeda tries to have a hit at it, misses it, and potential outside edge opportunity missed. But much better than yesterday already, Shweta Sinha.
So Austria make their 50 this over, which is a little bit later than yesterday, 52 for naught, the score at the end of the 7th. And the Belgians making plenty of noise out there. They've got to just keep on it. They're not going to keep Austria down to, well, as low a score as would be ideal. But compared to yesterday, they've got to believe they're in a much more solid position to keep it down to somewhere more like, well, 150 than 200. Zepeda has not been showing a massive aggression here. There have been more good balls for her to deal with than there were yesterday. Still knows how to climb into the bad one, though. And that one dropped just a little bit short, and she's very strong in that area, knows how to get the power into the shot. And even on this slightly damp-out field, that one runs away for 4.
Ananya Singh with the second over. In the first over, she went for 13 runs. Of those 13 runs, we had 3 extras. And Shweta Sinha, just to bring you that information as well, 3 runs of her first over with just 2 extras. So only 1 run against her came off the bat. This one called wide by the umpire. So Austria is, of course, looking to accelerate a little bit as they have been going slower than yesterday. And the ground just might be a little bit more damp than yesterday. But the ball is still traveling. That was nobody interested on the field for a shot, but the Belgium camp asking the question to the umpire, how was that? But, an appeal from the outside is not an appeal. Ananya Singh with her 4th delivery of this over. And Andrea has a whack at it, pushes it through the covers, and comes back comfortably for a 2.
So we're just seeing Andre Metsepeda starting to put a little bit more power into some of the shots, asking questions of the fielders, and sometimes they haven't been able to answer them when the ball's been coming harder at them. And they continue to snatch within the ring the odd single. And I think the Austrian batters could also look a little bit harder now and then for some of those singles in the ring. It seems to be so far a day of slightly fewer boundaries, so that's going to be important. Still no shortage of gaps now that more players have been pushed out. In the power play on the leg side, there's an absolutely enormous gap now. We have square leg on the rope and cow corner on the rope. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, long on and long off out. We'll confirm how that's looking at the start of the next over. With the score chugging along now into the 60s. That's going to be Schwerter to continue. She had an okay start, just a couple of wides in the previous over. Just looking at that field, for Schwerter's bowling, we do just have the 3 out on the rope as we did before. Cow corner and long on and long off. There's a bad start to that over. A clear wide.
So where does the partnership stand in the context of the series? This is the second highest partnership we have seen in the series from Austria. The highest, of course, coming in match 1 with 111 runs for the first wicket. This time around we are roughly at 64 runs, 64 with this wide, I think exactly. So 64 runs for the first wicket. Partnership is already rather handy for the Austrian players, and they will want to, of course, improve on that as we see another good dot ball being bowled by Schwerter-Sinner.
Well, Schwerter beginning to have a more difficult time out there bowling from the check hand. And as Belgium target a much smaller wide count today, it's important that she keeps things under control, and there's a messy and unnecessary overthrow. Just so many unnecessary singles from various sources out there this morning, quite apart from wides. In that respect, I'm not sure it is any better than yesterday, but the dot ball count early on certainly was better. And that's probably already going to tell in the final score from Austria. But having said that, they are none down and free to go. Bushra up to 19 now. So after 25 yesterday, she's closing in on a personal best for the weekend. I think about a third there probably would have worked out as well. But they settle for the 2.
Yeah, good push for the 2. The earlier 2 that we saw in the previous delivery with the overthrow has been corrected to 1 run as the ball did hit the batter. So the umpire happy to call it just a single, and now he signals for a no ball as the ball lands outside of the pitch. And while we do speak, the Belgium coach did come around and suggest a little of the fielding changes, and I think Belgium now looking to put a deep square leg fielding position in instead of the square leg position. I'm not quite sure how I like that. I think they would be better off with putting somebody in the deep backward square. Square leg is fine as it is, and Shweta Singh, sorry, of course, is on to bowling her last delivery for the second over. And that is guided into point, guided into gully for a single. Cepeda stays on strike for the next over. We are 9 overs down, 73 runs off this over. 73 after this over, of course, for no loss. And Andrea Cepeda 34. Bushra Ocha is at 18 of 25 deliveries.
And while we're talking captaincy, of course, we're getting into the realms of different fields to different batters, which is, of course, next level captaincy stuff. And remember, Belgium as a whole and Thrapp are learning, very steep learning curve in their first weekend of international cricket here. But do have to consider sooner or later. Now, that actually was a well-run single. Credit to the batters there. But we have one batter that's a power hitter and putting away a few boundaries. And then you have one that is a little bit less damaging. And if you want to get the field in just those couple of steps for anyone, it should particularly be Bushra now on strike. Because if you can keep her on strike, because she's not hitting boundaries quite so much, that creates pressure because she won't be able to score. And it also, of course, keeps the boundary hitter off strike. But these are all cricket basics, and with time they will come. And it must also be said that captaining from a nice bench on the boundary is very, very easy.
It is, of course, also easy when you've had experience in playing that game in various countries, as you have, Richard, playing in Austria, playing in England, in South Africa, playing in Australia, of course. And even with just playing under certain captains, I think something for the game and some three-dimensional thinking comes into place where you just can talk about things like varying the field for different batters. And of course, this might be a good opportunity here to put these things into context and also put that into play. You would definitely be able to put more pressure onto Bushra Ocha and compared to Andrea Cepeda in the field. And this time there is a single on offer. And yeah, as we mentioned, she is not a big hitter of the boundaries. And if that was a mid-off, there is hardly a single available, and she stays on strike for the next two deliveries, and we will only see what happens when Andrea Cepeda is on strike for the next two deliveries.
As we watch the after effects of a very loose one down leg there, I must say, Suraj, you make me sound like one of those hired gun international cricketers who's asked to play all over the world. It is, of course, not at all like that. It's usually me booking my own plane ticket, phoning up clubs and asking if they happen to need someone for Saturday. But it's a great fun way to spend your life, I must say. As is hitting boundaries through the covers, of course. Something I know less about. but which Andrea Cepeda has already shown yesterday she knows plenty about. It's ticking along nicely now.
To come back to the earlier point, so if you had that mid-off fielder the long-off fielder come in and don't offer Bushra that one single, and Rea doesn't come on strike and doesn't hit that delivery for 4 brilliant runs. And takes another single here as the field is pushed onto the ring and stays on strike for the next over. And with that, over called. And we are 9 overs into this Austrian inning. Not over yet called, sorry. 1 delivery left. Off the glove this time. And that is a good single. Last delivery of the over this time for sure. And hits the grass. No ball called from the umpire. Austria currently at 87 for no loss. Another 24 runs. And we are into the highest partnership for the Austrian cricket team.
Some really nice, aggressive and decisive footwork there from Andre Cepeda. She advances up the wicket and dispatches that delivery from Ananya Singh. And that is a great note on which to take drinks. That certainly sends a message to the fielding team that they've got to work harder to keep the pressure on after the break. They have got 10 wickets, ideally for them, that they'd like to take. We'll see in a moment how they get on with that.
And welcome back after the drinks break. The Belgian team is on their positions already. The batter's now fixing small things, probably, yeah. Andrea Mesipeda now wearing her glove. Bushra Ucha is ready to strike. And we have a change of ball, what it seems. The umpire is not happy with the shape of the first ball. Just to remind, it is damp out in the field, so the ball has lost shape. And therefore the the umpires have decided that they will take on a new ball. And we are using now one of the used to the balls from yesterday. So it's not a completely new ball, of course. It is a ball in a similar shape and condition. And these balls are taken from yesterday's match because the damp outfield is making the ball, of course, suck in water, lose shape. The seam is uneven. And that is also not a really good instrument to use if you are a bowler. And if you are a batter, what do you care? Into the attack comes now Sarah Zanz with 24. And field is very similar to the previous overs. We have a long off, long on, deep mid wicket, deep square leg. And a delivery just towards between fine leg and square leg. And a single taken.
So the scoreboard ticking immediately after that break, and it brings Tzepeda back on strike, who is she's within 6 of another half century. So far, she hasn't disappointed us at all in the 90s or the 40s. Although yesterday it did take a while during the break to calculate that she actually did have 100. This could be if it doesn't. Well, it doesn't beat the fielder, so just the one. Belgian fielder there. I can't see who it is from this distance, but she did well to just get everything behind it. So it was coming with a little bit of power from Tzepeda.
Yeah, that was half French, half American, half Czech Bierstow at fine leg, stopping the delivery. And this time really a fine field setting as well for that kind of delivery. They have somebody at fine leg, this time square leg. Can it find the gap? Yes, it does find the gap. And for 4 runs. So this time it's Bushra Ucha finding the boundary. Goes for 4 runs. Austria with that at 97 for no loss. And there is some discussion going on now that the bowler would like to have somebody a little squarer off the wicket. Yeah, after that shot, they're changing the field. And it is going to change a little bit around now for Sarah Zanz. We have a change in the fielders, but only the positions. So we have just fielders changing positions, but not the positions being changed.
Nice little dab down to point there from Bushra. Quite a productive shot for her, I notice, actually. And she's continuing to steadily accumulate. Just the one boundary for her so far. But as we said earlier, she's closing in on improving her score from yesterday. That was, 2 boundaries. I stand corrected. Well, a yelp of frustration, I think, from Andrea Tzepeda there for having picked out the fielder. But look, there have been a number of times this weekend when shots like that have gone straight through the Belgian fielders. So we've already seen since the drinks break a couple of times where they've improved their game on that front, just making sure that they've got their bodies behind it. It's not always going to go directly to hand. It's not the smoothest outfield in the world. You can't always rely on it to bounce as it might at, say, Old Trafford. And there again is the dab just in front of square this time. Just keeps on producing singles for Bushra Ucha, bringing the more dangerous Andrea Tzepeda onto strike.
A quick over comes to an end. Not a very tidy one, however, as there was a boundary off this over. 100 runs scored. Austria into the triple digits after 11 overs. So they're slightly behind their rate from yesterday. I think they were going at some 10 and over until the death overs in 17, 18, 19. And we have a change of bowling. Bierstow comes into the attack once again. So she has bowled 2 overs already, 2 still in the bank. It's interesting if this is the right decision by the captain to bring her on now instead of in the death overs. But you haven't taken any wickets, so why wait for the death overs? Might as well bring one of your better bowlers into the attack once again if you are looking for that one crucial wicket.
Yeah, I agree with this. It's time to try and strike, and she was part of that opening bowling partnership that did keep some pressure on, and we see again something of a block. Could potentially have been a single, although we have seen that Bierstow is very quick across the ground and would have been able to pick that up very quickly under pressure. So perhaps a wise decision. Bushra, meanwhile, with that boundary in the last over, has actually gone past her score from yesterday, which was 25. She's now 26. So pushing to new heights this weekend and starting to pick up better and better on those short balls and milking runs into the leg side. We saw her hit one of those for 4 earlier on. And Bierstow just got to be careful she doesn't drop too short. We haven't seen too much of that so far today until the last ball, but yesterday we did see that in the second game, when she doesn't quite get it right, she may just have it too short, and that's just an easy one to hit here at Seabarn. This one's definitely not too short, and it is launched into the air, falls safe, and is probably going to run away. 4 more to the total. And that brings up the 50 for Andrea Mezepeda. It's what she does as the bench erupts for Austria. Let us remind you, ladies and gentlemen out there, 100 in the first game yesterday morning, 63 in the second game yesterday, both of those batting first just as she is today, and she has once again crossed the half-century mark. How far can she go today? I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm not going to say anything on that score just yet.
And Andrea bringing up her 50, of course, in style with that boundary. And can free up the arms a little bit more now. The umpire signals for a wide as he frees his arms. We have also Bushra Ultra on her highest score so far with 28. So this is also quite an achievement for her today. Prior to that series, I think her highest score, with what I could find for now, was at 17. So she's already improving on that prowess of hers in that series, going for 28 today. And 25 yesterday, so one high score after the other. And she does not look in any hurry to give a wicket away today, striking at 85 right now, and umpire signals for another wide. So Bushra Uchas is striking at 85. She has been striking rather comfortably yesterday and today. And this is the question of not being in a hurry and giving away her wicket. So if she's patient and if she can hang around, I'm pretty sure there's a 50 for her available here as well.
And again, we start to see that aggression that we saw just before the drinks break. Not exactly running down the track there, but when Zepeda does go aerial, she tends to go aerial in that area. And why not? Because there's a massive gap. And unless she can actually bring the fielders on the rope into play, and that would be a tough catch, she's going to get away with it. May just find the gap then between cow and long off. She won't need to worry about putting bat on ball with this one. And just for some details on that 50, she's on exactly, I think we might just be awaiting an update. But in any case, 7 fours in that 50 of hers. So another virtually chanceless one, I would say, just like yesterday. She has not at all been riding her luck this weekend. Just played some smart cricket. Climbed into the bad balls and milked runs, basically, here at Seabarn. Bushroot are now onto strike, and as we mentioned, she's having the time of her life, the time of her career at the moment, and this is turning into quite a formidable opening partnership, one that Austria will hope has a long future at the top of their T20 Women's International team.
And with this run, this partnership is the highest partnership of this weekend and, of course, of Austrian women's cricket team with 112 runs. This partnership has been just going and going and going in the 12th over already. And they have not looked in any kind of danger today. And as you were mentioning, Richard, we have had yesterday some catches, of course, but Andrea not giving any chances into the field. Rather, she was bowled twice, once off her own bat. So she is keeping it rather safe. She is keeping into the zones where she knows there is chances to be had. There are just runs wherever she's playing the lofted shots, and the fielders are not. And the field is taking the same position once again. We have now somebody at backward square leg. We have somebody at deep, so between deep square leg and deep mid wicket. Long off, long on. We have an extra cover. And this time it is in the air straight to the fielder, but one bounce before the fielder can get to it. One run. Ocha rotates the strike handsomely. Zepeda back on strike. And with that, Austria is at 1-1-3. Ocha 30 runs of 35 deliveries. So also going with a nice strike rate herself.
Well, that one went directly into the breadbasket area, but not exactly into the hands. Was coming quite hard, relatively tricky chance, but once Belgium are a more experienced international side, they're definitely going to be expecting to take those. So just after we said she didn't give any chances, of course, Andrea Zepeda did give a chance, but it hasn't stopped her continuing to hit into that area. This latest one, much more controlled, and grabs another couple of runs. If you keep on hitting it with power, chances are you're going to be fine. Plenty of flight on this one. Zepeda picks out the fine leg. It's a reasonable pick up and throw. The fielder is down and very, very angry, presumably with herself. I think it's Bairstow down there. Didn't look that terrible to me. But of course she did not want to allow the single, and they did scamper through. Certainly not out the middle there. goes in the same direction. Once again, a single stolen. And that's something you just have to look at as a captain now. They're just knocking them around the corner. 119 the score at the end of the over. And that is, of course, still without loss, as the Austrian opening pair just having fun out there right now.
And that's 119, as Richard just mentioned, of 13 overs. Austria going at a good run rate of 9.15 per over. And that is number 9 again. So this is Ananya Singh, if I'm not mistaken. She's back into the attack. And Ocha defends it nicely. Just a good stroke into the covers. But once again, the field is a bit too back. And an easy single, rather, one available to her as well. And that is the last over for Ananya Singh. She has bowled 3 already into her 4th over and finishing off her spell. She would, of course, like to finish off with a wicket, but then again, who wouldn't?
Scornfully slapped away into the offside, that one. And the show goes on for Tepeda. And for the Austrian, 11. Well, I say 11. There's not been much to do throughout this weekend for the batters who would be coming in at, let's say, 5 or below. Even numbers 3 and 4 haven't had an awful lot to do. We saw Gandali and, of course, Joanne Stiglitz have some time out yesterday in the second of the 2 matches. But in general, the scene has been dominated by these two when Austria have been batting. And hopes of getting a bat if you're in the lower order are looking very, very slim now. If you're in the Austrian, under the Austrian awning, let's say, which is a way to backward square leg. As Bushra is having a bit of trouble with her hair, or possibly being attacked by a insect of some sort. Could be a spider. There's been talk of spiders out there in the middle this weekend. We've had our fair share of them over here, actually, in the commentary position. Must be just that time of year here in Niederösterreich. Must be an autumn thing.
Yeah, it's harvest season for everybody. Ananya Singh into the delivery, and a good shot this time from Ucha. Will not carry to the boundary as there is a fielder placed very neatly at fine leg, but a 2 available this time. The throw is rather in no man's land or no woman's land, and Ucha back for us 2. So just to bring you some information on bowling figures today, Ananya Singh is into her last over, into her last 2 deliveries, if we're not mistaken. She has gone for 50 runs already today. So she will be rather happy to either finish off the quarter or take a wicket to have something to show off for her 50 runs. This time it's a no ball because it is a delivery once again that is not landed onto the pitch, and umpire rotates the finger above his head not to shy off any insects but to signal that it's a free hit.
Next ball is going to be a free hit as well, since that's called wide. And Bushra will get another chance to try and smack away towards 40. Currently on 35 from 39. Now, unfortunately, she's picked out the stumps. That would have been one at least. Now the umpire's fallen over the stumps. Not sure if that's been caught on camera or not. Just a small comedy moment there for umpire Alala Santosh. They've been solid, the gentlemen out in the middle throughout this weekend, doing a thoroughly professional job, of course. $130 without loss, the score now, 14 overs into the book. Talking of the umpires and how much they've had to do this weekend, I can't think of an awful lot of caught behind or LBW shots, perhaps one of each if the memory serves. And so no major controversies or issues there. And since we don't have replays, we can't really discuss them anyway. Suraj.
Ucha was out LBW yesterday. Struck on the back pad. But I think that was a rather plumb decision, so no struggles in finding the discussion, finding the decision and finding, of course, the decision and discussions afterwards, whether or not it was a not out. A pretty clear situation. And it does seem that the insects are at the castle and a little bit more than at the check end, as even Cepeda now had to shake her head a little bit to just try and move any insects from her. As Zara Zanz come back into the attack, bowls another good delivery, and this one at deep backward square leg finds the fielder. Just one run this time from it. And Zara Zanz, one of the bowlers today, or the only bowler today, who hasn't had any extras off her bowling so far.
Long may that continue. She's also well positioned to not have boundaries hit off her bowling. We've now got 5 on the rope, which I think is the maximum. As a sweeper has gone out now on the offside. We just saw Cepeda a couple of balls ago hit one hard to backward square leg, and that's one position I'm pretty happy with. She's quite productive in that area, and having the fielder on the rope there kept that down to 1 instead of 4.
First wide, and the commentator's curse coming into play as we speak. A little bit heartbroken. Would have been nice figures for her to finish off her bowling today. She is into her 3rd over, so still plenty of deliveries to come. Zara Zanz can, of course, force the batters into playing these kind of shots where she has the field placed exactly for these moments and for these shots. This time around, however, a misfield allows Austria to take 2 runs off Zanz bowling. She will be a bit annoyed by that, but another learning experience or another learning moment for the Belgium field.
Yeah, a little frustration for Shirin Diaz there as it escapes her. And there's a mistake there from Cepeda. She finds the inside edge, trying to take the bowling on there. But no harm done. She'll be around to push on well into the 60s now. If all goes according to her plan anyway. Sands will have other ideas. Cepeda 65 as we speak. She's got plenty into that one. Again, picking out that square boundary fielder. As I said, a good place to have a fielder. Just the execution was a little bit lacking there, unfortunately. You can blame it on a dodgy bounce potentially, but fact is, it's escaped the fielder and gone for 4, so that takes Andrea Cepeda on to 69. And for those of us who just want to see cool stuff happen, we want to be talking about Andrea Mezapeda in the 90s as this innings gets to a close. But I guess it's premature. Let's see what happens over the next 3 or 4 overs.
Andrea with the second highest score of this inning, and if I'm not mistaken, her second highest score for the Austrian women's national team as well. Andrea, again lucky, bat inside edge onto the pad. Yesterday she was bowled off a similar delivery, off the bat onto the off stump, and this time around twice inside edge to the pad, saves her of the troubles of having to go back to the pavilion and having to see somebody else walk in to take her place on the crease.
It does look like she's willing to take a few more risks a little bit earlier on now than was the case in the previous 2 games, and why not indeed? There's not a lot to lose for her. We know there is some batting to come still. Just a few adjustments being made to the field. As we're overhearing, there are 20 minutes remaining to complete the innings. We've been told at the drinks break that there are no major issues with timing for the Belgians. Just a reminder, they were issued penalty runs for an over-rate transgression in both games yesterday, 10 in the first match and 15 in the second. So that's a definite easy thing that they had to improve on for today. And with 20 minutes left to bowl the last 5, that should be doable. But the people whose job it is to keep an eye on the clocks are doing so. We hope not to have to deal with any penalty runs after this innings. Because whatever Austria do register, it makes much more of a game of it when they don't have to. When Belgium don't have to chase penalty runs on top of that. And we're hoping to see a closer contest this afternoon, as Belgium haven't really seriously considered chasing down the 2 big targets in the last 2 games. And that's well dealt with by Sands. That was a typical C-barn moment in the covers there. The ball was along the ground and then suddenly it wasn't, taking a spring at the last minute, but she kept her eye on it very, very well. And it went straight to hand. So good fielding as she continues to patrol that area. As if that had gone past her, I suspect it would have been going all the way.
Pierce is still rotating her shoulder before the delivery. Might be some issues or some tiredness just with her arms, and it does seem that exactly that issue is making her drop the ball shorter than she would like to. Austria moves to 1-4-3 now, and Ocha 38 of 45 deliveries. Andrea May Cepeda moving into the 70s. So both of them striking at a good rate. Both of them rotating the strike whenever needed and not taking many risks, bar that drop from Andrea in the covers. Oh, sorry, that was the mid-wicket. And has a hit this time. And collected at the boundary, just a single this time. They don't push it for 2. I reckon there was a 2 on offer this time.
Umpire thinks about that one, but eventually plumps for the wide. And Biesto is going to have to bowl that one again. She's into her last over now. So she won't have to worry about that shoulder too much longer. Just a big push for these last couple of deliveries. And no wides. Not a bad length there. Perhaps still a tad short. And if it's even just got a hint of shortness about it, Bushra has been pretty good at pouncing on that, whipping it away anywhere into the leg side, which is pretty much sufficient to get a single and put Cepeda back on strike, and has been for most of the innings since the power play ended.
That's the case, Richard. I haven't seen Ucha face many deliveries after the drinks break, and it does look that Cepeda is now a little bit tired as she leans onto her bat. A wide once again. I would like to see some sweeps now. If on the leg side wides, why not? Just go for it. The last 5 overs of the Austrian batting. There are 9 more batters to come. Be a team player. Come on.
Yeah, the sweep is quite a rare shot on this bouncy field at Seabarn. Actually, you don't see it very often to what we might call good balls, be it in men's or women's cricket. It's quite a rarity on this pitch, whether that is to do with the conditions or just the fashion for trying to plunder as many runs through the line over cow corner as possible. You can discuss at length, but yeah, take your point, Suraj. Why not smash the wides and. If you miss them, it's probably still a wide. Of course, it is frustrating when you go over a really, really wide one. You just get a little bit of something on it, and it's a dot ball instead of a wide. That's always the fear for the batter.
Birsa finishes her spell now with 42 runs to show for no wickets, sadly. She did give away 11 extras, and Sarah Sanz is back into the attack. She's now put into extra cover, and back into the attack is Belgium number 5, Shweta Sinha. She had troubled the batters a little bit early on as she was bowling rather cleanly, but lost her shape a little bit in the end. Let's see how her last spell goes on. Good delivery on a good length, and Cepeda is made to push that one onto deep mid-wicket. And just a single again. So Austria now struggling with the big runs, struggling with the twos. As we speak, another wide from Shweta Sinha. She had bowled 2 overs before her second spell. That spell had 14 runs, 6 extras from that. So you can see clearly that she did trouble the batters a little bit more than any other bowler so far, as only 8 runs came from her 2 overs off the bat. So she is one of the bowlers that will give away rather singles than boundaries. And she does like it the silent. And this time it's taken and it's out. Ucha outside edges it to the wicketkeeper, and Belgium celebrates their breakthrough. First wicket for Belgium. Ucha out for 39 of 47.
And as far as we know, Suraj, we do reckon that is her career best score, going past the 25 she put on yesterday. And there's a nice touch between these two. You know, we've seen both times when Bushra's got out at least, her first thought has been to go over to her partner and, say goodbye, essentially, say well batted. It was fun batting with you. And it's a sign of just how well this partnership is working as the Austrian bench rises to Bushra. She's scored plenty on aggregate over this weekend. Huge improvement for her as a batter. And yeah, just this Ucha Cepeda partnership combination at the top of the order is looking like one with a lot of potential for years to come for Austria. Ucha, the junior, younger player there, but learning all the time, no doubt, from being at the other end of Cepeda, and it is showing after another fine innings. So Malika in now and straight off the mark to backward point. And she's going to have license to have a bit of a hit with Austria now in this over, having gone past the 150 mark. And I think we've got some entertainment to come as this innings winds down, Suraj.
Entertainment, thy name is T20 cricket. In that regard, let's see for the last fireworks in the death overs of Austrian batting. The last two matches, they have struggled a little bit in the death overs to put on some runs. This time around, however, Andrea Cepeda is still in. Malika is fresh, and the legs are still fresh, and they will want to see those ones converted into twos. Malika would have liked to see a second here, but is denied by Andrea and is back on strike. Malika now faces Shweta Sinha, who is indeed one of the more dangerous bowlers today, just because she has kept it clean, and this time she takes the wicket clean bowled. Malika too early on a sweep. The ball just bounces above the bat and takes the middle stump with it. Belgium 2 wickets into the Austrian attack. Austria now 2 wickets down for 100 and
154 to complete that thought. And, well, you wanted some sweeps. It proves that perhaps it isn't the shot to play here. But one for your personal commentary highlights reel, all the same, because just as you said, she's one of the more dangerous bowlers. The stumps went flying. Well done, Suraj. A brief stay at the wicket for Malika. So all sorts of drama. The entertainment we talked about is already delivering. Now, to the wicket comes someone who made a decent score in the second innings yesterday, was undefeated in the 40s, if I remember rightly, and someone who has a bit of a story to tell, has had a busy night, Joanne Stiglitz.
Stiglitz on strike. Just one ball to come off Shweta Sinha's third over. Survives that one. Yes, she does. And wants to have that single. Takes it. Yes, single off this over. Single to finish it off. Rather handy one for Belgium. 2 wickets off this over. And 5 runs from it. To correct again. 6 runs off this over. 2 wickets. So Belgium finally showing some life in the bowling attack as they chop into the Austrian batting lineup and take first and second wicket in the same over. We have 3 overs ahead of us, so 17 overs down. Austria won 55 for 2. How many more is needed? How many more can they collect from this one? And as we speak, Sarah Zanz changes her ends. She's now bowling from the count and for her final over. And she's also one of the more cleaner, or rather, put it that way, more economical bowlers today. Of her 3 deliveries, of her 3 overs, she has given away some runs. We will see how many that is once the scorecard refreshes. Stay with us for that moment. So Zaras had given 25 runs off of 3 overs before that, only gone for 1 extra this time. However, a second extra of her first ball of the last over. A big hit from Joanne Stiglitz, who makes it through to the non-striker. A single to start with, and 2 runs from this over already. Sarah Zanz on her mark once again. And you can see it on the cameras as well, that she likes to have a routine of sorts before she delivers the ball. Drops her shoulders, lifts her left leg, and then starts running. And has been rather economical doing that. This time around, however, Andrea Cepeda says, please do deliver one more delivery, and smacks it over cow corner for a 1 bounce 4.
Yeah, that was superbly done. Just found the gap there between the two fielders in the deep and was just heading for the very middle of that gap from the moment it left the bat. So excellent play there from Cepeda. Moves on to 78. That was ultra high delivery. That's going to be called no ball. And there's a shy from the keeper, which nearly takes out, well, it does hit Joanne Stiglitz, but she's okay. There's no harm done. So we've got a free hit now in the offing. I will. Well, just a bit of a lack of concentration out in the deep there at backward square leg. That one definitely should have been tidied up and should not have gone for 4. Pretty demoralizing stuff from Sands, who's been one of the better fielders in the Belgian unit herself. And Stiglitz helps herself to 4 there. And I will tell you in a moment what I meant when I said she had an interesting night, just at the end of this over. Straight to hand, but unfortunately then straight to ground. That was a good job on picking out the fielder, but unfortunately the catch does not stick this time, so will just be the one there. Cepeda on strike. And now the shackles are really coming off, if there ever were any. And finally, we do see the fielders in the deep actually produce some value in terms of cutting off runs. That would have gone for 4, but it didn't. And they get back for a second. She's into the 80s now.
One thing that I've seen with the overs of Sarah Zantzis, however, is something that's rather interesting and fascinating for me as well. That the field setup is exactly right for her overs and for her type of deliveries. You've seen 2 dropped catches of her bowling today. Same position, both in that mid-wicket-ish area, and she does bowl exactly to that kind of field that the Belgians have set. But so for one bowler, if the field is perfectly right, that also means that for the other 4, at least 4 overs, it's not quite as right as it could have been. And what we've seen so far is 2 drops of Zara Zantz. We've seen the Shweta Sinner overs. Those were rather interesting as well because only the keeper and Shweta were involved in the wickets here. So once caught behind, once bowled. So Belgium really needs to put that question towards field placement and field management, where to put the field for the bowlers that are not Sarah Zantz.
Good awareness and running there from the 2 Austrian batters. They get back for one for the throw there. Keeping the scoreboard ticking just as much as it possibly can. This one's uppish but safe because mid-off is deep at long-off, as has been the case throughout this innings. These 2, of course, have a good understanding. They've been together in the side for a long time. 2 of the more senior players, and were, of course, involved in quite a hefty partnership yesterday afternoon in the second game. which provided the meat of the Austrian innings as they put together 197. And there's another Cepeda special. Down to the square leg area. She puts Stiglitz back on strike. Just to complete what I was saying, it's a wonderful amateur cricket story. You might assume she'd gone home to her home in Vienna, had a good rest, and turned up for the third one-day international tomorrow after making 40-odd yesterday in that partnership I just mentioned. However, Stiglitz did not do that. She's professionally involved in the aviation industry and in fact flew to Athens last night, quite late, and had a return flight that landed in Vienna around 7:30 this morning, just in time to take part in the third T20 International. The things these cricketers get up to in between matches, huh?
Risky single here, but Andrea makes it to the striker's end for a leg bye of the pads of Joanne Stiglitz of the Athens Flyer. But it was rather interesting as well to see her in her red and white, not of the Austrian national team, but rather in the Austrian national airline. So, as you mentioned, amateur cricket writes all sorts of stories. That's 178 after 19 overs, 1 over to go. The skipper is having a go at the delivery as well. Yep, that is her last over. So she starts on top. She ends the Belgium inning. This is a Nicola Thrupp bowling sandwich for Belgium today. So Thrupp is now bowling her final over. On strike is Joanne Stiglitz. She's already on 10 of 9 deliveries. I would like to see, of course, her figures not out, and has a whack at the delivery, extra cover, and they look at going for 2. Andrea is quick between the wickets, and so is Joanne. A rather handy 2 taken this time. And Joanne is back on strike, so Austria at 180. And this is turning out to be a similar total to the first match of Austria. Another whack at it. It's rather straight this time. And I think this is only a... There is all sorts of confusion this time. What had happened here? The batters having a conference in the middle, about to take the second run. But the fielding team having a conference as well, whether to take the bails off or not. The ball is on the ground near the stumps, and Thrupp just misses to gather the ball and get it quickly to the stumps. And this time, Joe, another whack at the ball, deep extra cover, and another 2 for Joanne Stiglitz. So she is putting pressure onto the fielding team, and those were some 6 quick runs. Andrea is understandably tired. We can see her leaning onto her bat. It has been a long day for her already, so onto the bat for 20 overs. And Joanne is not having any of that. She's making her run. And another big hit. Can that go for 4? No, it cannot. And this time, she has mercy on her batting partner. Just 1 run taken.
Yeah, and leaning on her bat now, I think Cepeda will be very happy for that, because 3 doubles off the first 3 balls of this over, and then finally the single. So if my calculations are correct, we should have 2 left in the innings. Do we have that correct? Should be 1 here, and perhaps even a little reluctance to take off there for Cepeda. Completely understandable when you've made a 50, a century, and very close to another century. It's not going to happen for her this time, but she's going to end somewhere in the mid-80s as we stare down the last ball.
So last ball of the innings, Thrupp to Stiglitz, who guides it to fine leg. Is there a 2 again on offer? Yes, there is a 2 on offer. So Stiglitz has light legs for somebody who has only had 3 or 4 hours of sleep, as she was telling us yesterday. And with that, the Austrian inning comes to an end. 1 88 for Austria for the loss of 2 wickets after 20 overs. The target for the the target for Belgium for now is 189, bar any penalty runs, of course. Richard, finish us off with your summary.
In the end, very similar to the previous two games we've seen in terms of the final innings total. They've all been very much in the same area. Andrea Metzger has been central to the Austrian effort for all of those innings. So a familiar picture. The question now, of course, is can Belgium put a little bit more zing into their response and get well into the 100-plus territory and go one better than yesterday afternoon? And who knows, maybe even make a game of it. It would be a surprise, but that's what we are all hoping for. And the only discussion we will be watching at the moment is whether there's any issue with penalty runs or over rates. There were penalty runs applied yesterday after both Austrian innings, and there's just a chat now between the Belgian captain and the match officials regarding probably exactly that issue. And when we come back after the break, we'll let you know, of course, if there have been any penalty runs and also how many wides were bowled. Did Belgium improve in that department? All that coming up for you after the innings break.
Einen wunderschönen Sonntagmittag allerseits und willkommen zurück zum dritten T20 International zwischen der Damenmannschaft Österreich und Damenmannschaft Belgien. Wir haben im ersten Inning, im ersten Teil des Spiels heute schon eine ordentliche Leistung der österreichischen Schlägerinnen gesehen mit einem Gesamtscore von 188 Runs. Das heißt, Belgien muss 189 Runs im Zuge dessen machen, um hier gewinnen zu können und diese Series 2:1 zumindest ausgehen zu lassen. Machen sie das nicht, gewinnt Österreich die Series 3:0. Und das ist natürlich auch für das ICC-Ranking Österreichs sehr, sehr hilfreich und für die nächsten Jahre auf jeden Fall eine gute Stütze, um gegen Länder wie Deutschland, Frankreich und Italien weiterhin spielen zu können, bestehen zu können. Weiter zu Richard für eine kurze Zusammenfassung des ersten Innings und wir sind 2 Minuten entfernt vom Beginn des belgischen Innings und eines guten Run-Chases hoffentlich. Richard, was sagst du dazu?
Ich sag Dankeschön, mein österreichischer Kollege Suraj. We'll go further in English just to recap the first innings for you. 188 was the score put on the board by the Austrians. Once again, a big half century by Andrea Meza-Peder, central to that effort with useful contributions from Bushra Uta and also at the very end from Joanne Stiglitz. And that means the target is 189 for Belgium, who are trying to salvage something from this series, already 2-0 down. This is the final game of what has been a wonderful weekend already here at Seabarn. If a little one-sided so far, what we are all hoping for is a slightly closer match second time around. It is a slightly easier target for the Belgians to face. They've been chasing, 198 and then also 100 and then 213 in the second game yesterday, and a situation that was made worse by penalty runs being added. And I can report that there have been no penalty runs added for slow bowling rate following this. So the 188 that was scored off the bat by Belgium will remain the official score. No penalty runs added and 189 needed by Belgium. Sorry, the 188 scored by Austria, I meant to say. So that is the situation. Belgium have cleaned up their act on over rate, so that's one big improvement. I did promise to tell you a little bit about whether they'd cleaned up their act on wides. Well, they did a little bit in the second, compared to the second game yesterday at least. So 48 runs went in wides yesterday in the second T20 International on that hot, tiring afternoon for all concerned. And today that figure was 37. On top of that, we had 5 no balls, some of which were called because they were also off the pitch. So a slight improvement in that department, but a long, long way to go. So we have a further experiment at the top of the order. This is the third opening combination we've seen from the Belgians as they really continue to try and look at different combinations and gather experience in what is only their third ever T20 Women's Internationals, the first 2 having been yesterday, of course. And Nicola Thrupp has stepped down from the opening role, having made an undefeated 50 yesterday afternoon. So fair play to the skipper, giving someone else a look, and again playing with who can do what in this Belgian lineup, because we haven't really seen how deep the batting goes. They've been batting out their overs, albeit slowly, in their 2 replies so far, which means Anja Besto returns for another crack at the top of the order, having played the second game as opener yesterday. And I said Besto when I should have said Beersto. We already corrected ourselves on that earlier today. That's the correct pronunciation, Beersto. Wearing number 10 and currently taking strike. Rosemarie Lister is the new appearance at the top of the order at the non-strikers end. Valentina Avdelai sends down the first delivery. Will there be runs already? No, but good intentful backing up at the non-strikers end, and they thought about the run, and that's already more intent than we saw in the early overs of the power play from Belgium's batters yesterday.
With the return of Austrian fielding side into this game. We have a return of the lower Austrian heat as well on Seebank Cricket Ground. So this mighty SCG of Austrian cricket does provide us with some heat today. And as we speak about that, Belgium is off the mark, and so is Lister. Scores her first run today, and Avilai very optimistically dislodging the bails off the stumps in hope for a run out, but seems that Lister was home comfortably.
Oh, Avdalai wide down the leg side. She's got to find her confidence again after yesterday being pulled out of the attack after a couple of waist-high plus full tosses. And it is just immediately noticeable how different the field is. The mid-on and mid-off are up. We only have one outside the circle. That one's nice and straight. Defended away into the onside. You mentioned the heat. It is amazing how it's cranked up in what was only about a 20-minute break. Sunglasses steaming up and a noticeable difference in the temperature beating down on the field. So spare a thought for Andrea Meitze-Peder, who was already huffing and puffing at the end of all that batting and now has to go out and field and bowl.
Good changes in the field compared to yesterday, indeed. It's good to see that there is not a fielder wasted at deep extra cover that early already, especially as the batters have not proved themselves and have not shown that they can hit those areas. There is, however, still Andrea Meitze-Peder, who loves to field at that position at forward or backward square leg. And very deep indeed. And there is a good 2, and Belgium camp is celebrating that 2 runs as if it was 100 scored by Bairstow. Bairstow off the mark as well. Good 2 runs and pushes the fielder at mid-off. This is a fielder at mid-on. Malika to chase behind the ball and chases it and throws it back to Avilai. Avilai with the fourth delivery of the over. And that is a good delivery. Gets to the stumps almost, and it wasn't the fourth, it was the final delivery of the over. Umpire calls it an over, and a quick over indeed this time. 1 extra coming off it, 4 runs, and first over down.
Well, it's already a comparatively bright start from the Belgians compared to what we saw yesterday. As we mentioned, they've tried 2 different opening combinations already. Zara Sands opened in the first game with Nikki Thrupp yesterday. Then it was Thrupp and Anya Bairstow in the second game yesterday. And now it's the Bairstow and Rosemary Lister combination. Well, let's see how this pans out. So far, so good. Lister wearing number 1, marking out her good, having a good look around the field, and she will not be looking up and seeing gaps everywhere, as was the case probably for the Austrian openers earlier on today. As Malika opens up with a wide, and as was the case when Belgium were bowling, we're hoping to see somewhat fewer of those in this fielding innings as well. Nicely into the 1 gap on the offside that Rosemary Lister will be able to see there. Round the side of Bushra at a shortish cover. And they're able to snatch a one. Well played, that one. Just a reminder that Austria have made 3 changes to their team, having won the series. So for this final rubber, Priya Ponraj, Ashman Sophie and Rafaela Trebiger come into the team. That's another wide, and none of those 3, of course, had anything to do with the bat. We look forward, perhaps, to 1 or 2 of them getting a bowl, or perhaps taking a catch.
So this is the very first T20 International for Priya Ponraj as well, in the first match for her. And she will be a bit nervous, a bit keen to show off her skills as well. And a lot of these Austrian ladies, they have been practicing hard over the summer. They played, of course, the series against Italy earlier in the summer. And beside that, they have been just going at it. We've seen the likes of Hajivan Buller and also, of course, Andrea Mezepeda in the nets of our very own club, Vienna Cricket Club, very often. Whenever they've had time, they've been spending their days out here and having net sessions. The commitment, of course, has to be applauded. And we have to see if this commitment pays off here today with the bat and the ball. So for Andrea, it has paid off with a century and 2 half centuries against Belgium now. Malika bowling a tight over as well. Just an extra so far. Coming off this over, we have Priya at fine leg, and we have the another debutant today in the series, Rafaela at fine leg, of course, and Priya is at third man.
Yeah, worth a mention for Rafaela, actually, is waited a long time for her debut, done a lot of drinks carrying, even if we go as far back as the series against Germany last summer, which didn't go nearly as well for Austria as this one is. They lost that one 5-0 and have come on a long way since then, although admittedly against lesser opposition. And there go the stumps of Rosemary Lister flying. So just 1 or 2 to her name before she has to make her way back to the clubhouse, and that experiment at the top of the order has failed as far as building an early solid partnership is concerned, which is what we saw in the previous 2 Belgian innings. She's on her way early, and Anja Bierstow is waiting for her next partner to arrive.
Her next partner, of course, the Belgian number 5 is Shweta Sinha. However, I am very sad to see this palindromic batting partnership disappear, the 1-0-0-1. And with that, the 0-5 of Belgium comes onto the pitch. We've seen now something we haven't seen since the first match of this series. Austria taking a wicket off the ball. The wickets that we saw in the second match yesterday had been all run out. And today, already in the second over, Malika strikes and hits the leg stump with a good length delivery and also a handsome pace on that. And this certainly will be very interesting to see how this goes on forward. On strike now is still Bierstow. Avilai back into the attack. Second over for her today. In total, Austrian third over. As we see the scoreboard being updated, it's 9 runs off 2 overs and 1 wicket down. Third over commences.
Valentina almost forgets to lose the hat before charging in, but it's been taken over by Joanne Stiglitz, and that is very respectfully prodded away. And a good start now to her second over. Usually Austria's most economical bowler had a bit of a bad day yesterday, being unable to complete her spell due to some illegal deliveries. But in general, top performer with the bowl for Austria. That's, how that managed to pierce the gap between the 2 fielders. It seemed to be in the air for ages. Would have been an absolute dolly for anybody in the immediate vicinity, but Just nobody could get there, and that has got to be considered a life for Anja Bierstow, who looks up for a swing at the moment. Just waiting for one of these to connect.
Wants to ask a question, Valentina, but this time shows as well to the number 13, to Joanne, that misses just about an inch or two. But we hear her two noises. I think they might have been the bat first as well. Runs in for a third delivery. And a fantastic one. It is straight to the keeper. Bierstow is left fishing. And as he wants to have a whack over mid-wicket. Yeah, it's rather tidy today. I hope this continues in a similar fashion, that the Austrian bowling shows us that they've improved and they've learned a couple of things from the earlier two matches in this series. Definitely something that they are able to do. Another tidy delivery from Valentina. This is completely changed from yesterday's second match. She was a little bit everywhere with her line and length today. The line is pretty much on point. The length, she's finding it more and more.
Well, what a great over that was. Easily her best of the weekend, I would say, for Valentina Avdullahi. A really good reply in these first two overs to the unpleasant moments of yesterday, being pulled out of the attack. And you could almost see the confidence coming back into her step as she walked back to her mark towards the end of that over.
Valentina with a maiden over today. And as there is a small break in between the change of overs, Bushra Ocha is being treated on her foot. Seems to be the right foot, maybe some sort of ankle issue or something happened on ground. The ground is a little uneven, however, as it's not Lord's, grounds will be uneven in associate cricket. Shout out to the ICC. Give us a few nice grounds, man. Malika starts the second over with a wide. This time, Shweta on strike. Lets it go for a wide. Yeah, just some points now to mention. There is a fielder at somewhere between deep mid-wicket and deep square leg. And that's Andrea May Cepeda. She loves that position, I'm being told, as she is usually found in that position exactly. So to put that in context, as we know that after every over there is a change of ends, Andrea is running across the field from deep square leg to her position. And I am just wondering why there hasn't been an appeal here. That was off the foot, if I'm not mistaken. No, umpire is happy that it was off the bat, and it was played off the bat. Shweta Sinha with a good single between the wickets.
Well, Anja Bierstow looks imploringly at the umpire, hoping for a wide, but having left that one, it's only going to go down as a dot ball. Took a long time to decide what to do with that ball. It was completely unmoved. And at the very last second, got the bat down, played it nice and late. Perhaps a little lacking in footwork, but all these things will come with time and experience. some of these Belgians have only been playing with a hard ball for a matter of weeks. Not all of them by any means, but they are very, very fresh at this hardball cricket thing and completely new to it at international level. There's a free hit now. Unlike so many in this match, it's proven to be a little of an anticlimax.
Seems to be more of a free hit for the bowler, not for the batsman in this series so far. One ball to come for this over. And Malika did want to ask the question, how was that? But of course, for a free hit, you cannot be out LBW. And guided into gully region. To keeper is the shout. And just a single off this last delivery. Andrea shouting from the boundary that that's exactly the way she should be fielding and throwing. It must be very, very energizing for the fielders to hear the Centurion shout from the boundary. Andrea comes in. It will be interesting to see if she's also now jogging from deep square leg to deep square leg.
Well, she's not jogging anywhere at the moment. She's walking at a reasonable speed. Completely understandable after, well, what, 100 and... rough maths in my head, about 240 runs this weekend in the course of 3 games. She has got the jog on now and is indeed going all the way to the far end, and a sort of mini warm-up on the shoulders happening, which suggests once she's finished jogging back and forth between fielding positions, she's going to be getting a bowl quite soon. Yeah, the arms are swinging quite prodigiously now. But for the moment, it's Valentina Avdolai, who bowled a great over last time around. That one came out nicely as well. And the battle continues with Anya Bestow, who you sense really, really wants to get Avdolai away, but is up against a bowler whose confidence is now growing all the time. How will this battle play out? It's been all Avdolai so far.
This time, however, the battle goes definitely into the favor of the Belgium number 10. And the ball trickles onto the boundary. There was a valid effort from Malika to stop this one with the foot, however, can only guide it towards the boundary slightly away from her. First delivery, first boundary for the Belgians, and there is the Mexican wave on the boundary in front of the Belgium tent. They are definitely enjoying themselves and enjoying the boundaries, and rightfully so. First 4 of the inning for Belgium. Let's see how Valentina Avdolai can respond to that.
We can't see perfectly from our angle, but that didn't look like too bad of a ball. Certainly wasn't terribly short. Was it a risky shot? Will she try it again? That's just snuck around the pads, not enough to be called a wide. May actually have caught some of the pad, couldn't quite make it out from here. But no run in any case. And there's the play and the miss, and it's another point scored, if you like, for Valentina Avdolai. The way this particular duel has been unfolding between the two of them, you get the feeling it would be a particularly satisfying wicket for Avdolai if she could knock over the stumps during the course of these last 2 balls of the over. Or get an edge. That wasn't too far away, I should imagine.
Really not too far away from the bat. The batters are already looking to connect anything onto those balls, and Avdolai not making it easy right at the moment. Beerstow, of course, would like to improve a little on that hitting, and does rightly so. And this is a second boundary of the over. Bierstow likes that shot, and so does the Belgium camp. Another Mexican wave we have.
Yeah, just unfortunately for Valentina, the loose ball at the very end of the over there, that got the treatment it deserved as a full toss. And a couple of boundaries, quite a big over for Belgium. Which takes us to 21 for 1. After 5, which puts them a long way behind the asking rate, of course, but we did ask for more intent yesterday afternoon. We got a little bit more intent yesterday afternoon. We asked for even more today. And although there hasn't been too much wrong with the bowling, you have to say, particularly in the case of Anja Bierstow, there definitely has been more intent there. And it's translated to an improved scoring rate. If not exactly what they're looking for, better than yesterday. And although they've been having a lot more free swings at the ball, they're still just the 1 wicket down. So if they've missed a few, it hasn't yet cost the Belgians much. It has brought more than it has damaged. That is given out, finger up. It is edged behind, and Shweta Sinha is going to have to, unfortunately, drag herself off. The catch nicely taken by Gandali, standing pretty close up there with Malika bowling. Beg your pardon, Andrea Metsepeda bowling into the attack and immediately making a difference. It seems everything she touches is turning to gold today.
Good breakthrough after all, and Andrea, of course, will like that. We had been looking for a wicket for her. She had a catch dropped off her bowling yesterday in the first match. Second match, she didn't look as dangerous with the ball as she would have liked to, and starts off with a wicket today. For me, player of the series already, with her ton, 2 half turns, and now a wicket. Collecting a lot of prowess for this series. New batter in is Ananya Singh with the number 9. And this is a wide delivery after a very good first ball. She starts with a wide. Umpires stretching the arms a little bit too much. That's some good workout in the middle.
Well, after the bright start, this over unraveling just a little bit for Andrea Metsepeda. But as you say, Suraj, I don't think there's going to be a very long debate about who player of the series is, or even player of the match in any of the games. Although it might be slightly premature to say that for this game, but I suspect it isn't.
One of those things, once again, either after the wicket ball you have a good delivery because you are just mentally right on top, or you're distracted once you've taken the wicket, and the next deliveries are a couple of those wides. And Andrea now really has to focus, put some effort back into her deliveries, put some thoughts behind her deliveries, and has to start make it worthwhile. And this is another wide delivery. That's 5 in a row. The scorers behind us are running out of space in the over column. And second legal delivery of the over. Dot ball. An effort made here to take a single, however, the ball not dribbling far enough from the batter. And the single declined by Ananya Singh, and a dot ball another.
After a long delay, that one's also called, so this long over continues. And perhaps for the first time all weekend, Andrea Metzepet is having a little bit of a struggle. Must be a strange feeling. Ooh. Well, I don't know if the camera caught that for you, but she had a look at the batter being out of the crease and aborted that delivery. Don't want to say the M word, but that's what she was implying. Then a big shout. We're going to get this overdone pretty soon.
What the M word being a maiden, that's out of the box because there have been a couple of wides here. If you're referring to a run out, yeah, that would have been as fair as it gets. However, yeah, another wide called. Andrea has to do something with the ball now, with something with the shoulder, and needs to really think inside the box this time and not too much outside the box. Good delivery, top of off, but just goes over the stop stump. And the keeper collects it, and even the keeper is losing count of the deliveries because she wanted to change ends already, but there's some deliveries still to come in the over. And that is the last ball of the over. An over that started brilliantly, struggled after that, then continued a bit okay, and then struggled again, and then finished off with a good delivery. 7 wides bowled in this over, and just a wicket to show for that. And no runs off the bat, if I'm not mistaken.
So it looks like there is going to be a change at the check end of the ground, which is a little bit of a shame because I was kind of looking forward to the Avdullah versus Besto battle continuing for another over, but not this time around. Instead, we're going to have one of those 3 that came into the team. The one that isn't a international debutant, that's Ashman Saifi, number 7, to take the ball. May not be a debutant, but is definitely on the young side. She's one of those who are still in school in the Austrian team, the other one being Priya Ponraj. Opens up with a wide. Continues to give the arms a swing. She gets into her stride in her first international over.
A good ball to start. Legal deliveries with. It kicked off the pitch a little bit and got it to Gully. A single off the first over. First legal deliveries, of course, sorry. And that was Bairstow with a single. And Ananya Singh is on strike now. And she won't be able to get any bat on that as it's very far away from the leg stump, and it's called a wide, rightfully so. So the shoulders do need a little bit more of those arm swings that she did before the second delivery.
Yeah, there is only so long that you can claim that a lack of warm limbs is the reason why you're not quite sending it down where you'd like to send it down. I think that time has passed, and it is just a case now of getting it right. That looks better, much better for Ashman Saifi, who is not bowling her first international over. Sorry, I got confused with all the ins and outs to this team. Just to confirm the two debutants are Priya Ponraj and Rafaela Tröbinger in this game for Austria. Very short and also very wide.
As the coach was shouting from the outside, no thinking, just bowling, and I think he has a point with that. Once you start to overthink, you overbowl or underbowl, and with overbowling, it is bound to happen that you just put too much effort into your deliveries, and those go for wide and all sorts of things. And this time, a good delivery on a good length, and Ananya Singh not able to get any bat on, not a lot of bat behind that ball, and collected just a couple of meters away from Ananya Singh in mid-wicket. And that was the third delivery of this over. Ashman Saifi giving those shoulders another swing. And this time it's another wide. And it's a no ball called off the pitch. Off the pitch. And with that, it's a free hit for Belgium.
Little jump to limber up even further at the top of her run there for Saifi. Sends down the free hit ball. There is a swing. It does go up. Nobody home. They'll at least get a 1 off that free hit delivery. Yeah. As you said, coach saying don't overthink it. Always an interesting topic. The idea of conscious thinking in sport. You, of course, have to... Oh, nearly a mix-up there. Of course, in cricket, you have to think a lot between deliveries. There's no question of that. We've talked about the challenge of captaincy and just how much you have to keep the brain working and in the broader tactical battle. And, of course, as a bowler, you've got to be thinking about that stuff between deliveries as well. But when you're into your delivery stride, like now, and this one, unfortunately, doesn't go to plan, but that's where you have to rely on the training that you've done. That's where you have to back your muscle memory, and that goes for batting as well. When you're actually in that moment, you can't start thinking about how to do it better. That's what the training pitch is for.
This is another wide called. That's all we're not going to plan for Ashman Saifi. Of course, you would like to have it rather clean over, and the deliveries that she's putting on spot, they are rather clean and no real danger from those. However, these deliveries are a rare sight, and this time around, it's a good delivery. Better having a look and just opting out for relief. Saifi finishes the over with a dot, and it's also some strong claps and applause coming from the audience on the outside. So indeed appreciation also for her. But I think main key from here onwards is for Austria to limit the wides, and it's easier said than done, as this is the main thing we've been struggling to see for Austrian cricket is the limitation of extra deliveries in prior matches. But I think Ashman will have to now go ahead and have another over, or opt for a rest and have somebody else bowl. Andrea Cepeda opens her second over with a wide, so rather continues the form that she's shown in the earlier over with the wides. That's her 8th wide, and this time off the edge, but falls safe between keeper and first slip, or rather gully.
Well, it's mostly the Austrian bowlers that are responsible for whatever's going onto the board at the moment. Things have gotten pretty quiet as far as the batters are concerned, but they're not having to do much. So as I say that, there's a very, very cheeky single, because mid-wicket was stationed pretty close there, and that's supposed to be a one-saving position. They took a risk there, but they ran it hard and committed to it. And most often that works out at this level.
And a dot ball from Andrea as she continues. Yeah, from mid-wicket, that was a hastily throw to the bowler. And the bowler just not able to get in line with the throw quickly enough to dislodge the bails. Has to pull out her hand to stop the delivery. And this time around, again, some confusion at the bowler's end from Belgium. No single taken. The batters having a little bit of a discussion on the pitch. And I think Birsa, rightly so, telling her, look, no single there.
Yeah, I think more than once of late we've seen a little bit too much enthusiasm from the non-strikers end. It is, of course, very easy to get drawn into that when you're already into backing up and you're a third of the way down the wicket. Although that said, we've seen a threat from the bowler at the non-strikers end already. Call it a warning if you like. So Ananya Singh at the non-strikers end does need to keep an eye on that as far as backing up is concerned. That was definitely a win for Andrea Metzepeda, who completes a much tidier over after a very long previous one.
So the trick for Andrea seems to be start off with a wide and the over will be good. Start off with a wicket and yeah, not so good. We enter now the 9th over, 8 overs down. Belgium 41 for 2 wickets. Bairstow is on 13 of 31. Ananya Singh is on 2 of 12. And on to bowl is Joanne Stiglitz. So the Athenian flyer back onto the crease and starts off with a very, very good delivery in a good length and doesn't offer anything to the batter. And we have a Getron medals coming from square leg boundary. That is Andrea Cepeda also motivating her fellow players. Another delivery, and this time Singh tries to have a heave at it, doesn't quite connect and seems to be pulling out of the shot midway through the shot, and the ball travels above the stumps. This time it's a better shot, better connection, but straight to Andrea, who has one of the stronger arms in this Austrian lineup and makes sure that the run count is just bowled by +1.
Curious to see what Bairstow does now. She was getting quite aggressive before all the wides started going down and she didn't have much strike. That was a very respectable ball. It's been a nice straight over so far from Joanne Stiglitz. And if you weren't with us earlier, just a reminder, she's been to Greece and back overnight in her work with Austrian Airlines. Did she get the bat down in time? Apparently, yes. No stumping there. And the marvelous tale of what amateur cricketers have to get up to in between matches is a reminder that next time you're sitting on a flight and someone asks you if you want the chicken or the beef, don't assume that they're not an international cricketer, because they might be.
And we have another wicket. So flies to Athens, comes back, takes a wicket. That's the regular wicket for Joanne Stiglitz. And with that, Bairstow is out. Top edge to the keeper. And she's disgusted with herself. Doesn't want to go out, but has to. In comes number 4, Nicola Trop.
Yeah, another catch for Gunderly behind the stumps. Has been a tidy catching effort for her. With the gloves on, the Austrian captain. And I think one of the positive changes then for Belgium has been Bairstow coming in. What did she make there? Have you got her innings numbers? We'll get them for you in just a second. So Anya Mem, 13 off 34. Certainly not earth-shattering, but she has seemed to grow in confidence since promotion to the top of the order yesterday and played a few more aggressive shots today. So a positive there for Belgium.
Austrian bowling already looking much more threatening than it did yesterday. Andrea is still continuing. That's a third over for this spell. She's now going against the Belgian captain, Nicola Trupp, who did rather find it comfortable yesterday to block the good ones and hit the bad ones, and made a well-earned 50 yesterday. Will she be able to continue today with the form that she had yesterday is the main question. I think a single on the menu here, but she opts out a bit on single side today. What do you think?
Well, I was very surprised to see her decline that single. It almost looked like a situation where you were trying to protect the tail, but it doesn't make a lot of sense at this stage in a T20 chase. But no doubt about taking the run on the second opportunity there into the covers. That brings Singh on to strike. She won't have a lot to do there, as Zepeda's bowling it wide again, this time down leg side.
If any of the big shoe manufacturers is listening to this, have you thought about Velcro cricket shoes? Ananya Singh back on strike. And Andrea May Zepeda will, of course, think about a wicket of anybody who is not Nicola Trupp in front of her, and puts one rather straight-ish and is defended by Ananya Singh back to the bowler. The Belgian batter's not too worried about having to hit Andrea 4 runs. And this time there is a nice hit, a quick single, and a run-out option. Good throw at the end. But Ananya Singh in a crease safely with time to spare. Last ball of this over comes up. And that is the last ball before drinks break. With that, we are in the drinks break. See you in 2 minutes.
46 for 3, the score after 10 overs. The drinks break has been all but completed, and Joanne Stiglitz has a ball in hand at the Czech Republic end, ready to send down another one. Nicola Thrupp takes guard for the first time down at the Count's Castle end, as we like to call it. And this is, of course, on the very small sample size we've got for Belgian batting. This is the danger batter. Nicola Thrupp, having made 52 not out yesterday, will be very familiar and very comfortable in the middle now, having batted the entire innings yesterday, not to mention a fair stint in the first game yesterday morning. We're not really talking about the run chase very much, because 46 for 3 at the halfway point when you're chasing 189 means you haven't really got a chance. But I tell you what, I'd love Belgium to prove me wrong. Playing a miss to start the second session.
And that's the returner from Greece continuing, Joanne Stiglitz. And that is another brilliant delivery to Ananya Singh. And she is finding it difficult to play Joanne Stiglitz, who is, of course, enjoying her spell on the other end. That is certainly something that has turned into something interesting to watch. Can Joanne Stiglitz now find a way to get a second wicket today? She's not giving the batter a lot of time. She just returns back to the crease, wants to go through the shot. And this time around, however, Ananya Singh is able to connect, goes over the infield, makes Andrea Meza-Peter run to the ball and throw it over to the bowler's end. 1 run from it. And this time Joanne Stiglitz to Nicola Thrupp. Smiles a little bit, has a look around. Maybe some insect came in the way. And a quick single this time. Both batters home safely. 1 again. And this time around, the field is being varied a little bit according to the batters. So whenever Ananya Singh is on strike, long off gets in and becomes mid off. And for Nicola Thrupp, mid off moves back to deep and is in a long off position. Good over comes to an end. 48 after 11 overs. There is still 141 runs in this chase to go. And to put it into context, that's 9 overs for a total of 141 runs in the chase. The new bowler is the Austrian number 12, and that is Anisha Nukla. First time bowling this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Scorer behind us corrects me, of course, on that one again. See, that was what happened when you don't do your homeworks. So kids, do the homeworks. And ball stops shy of the boundary this time. Just the 2 for Belgium. Nicola getting through for a double. Belgium now 50 runs in the bank. And 139 to go.
Just interesting also watching Joanne Stiglitz is taking quite a lot of the captaincy role on. at the moment and has been yesterday as well, although not officially the skipper on paper. She's been shepherding the field. Of course, has plenty of experience playing cricket in Austria, even if the story of women's international cricket here is young. She's making another change to the field, just fine-tuning things. A reminder that Gandali behind the stumps, wicketkeeper, is the official skipper, and Bushra runs in, puts in the dive, but unlike yesterday, isn't able to take a catch. Maybe there'll be a chance soon.
Anisha Nukala, however, impressing with putting her body on the line twice already this over. First, she took a hit to her shin with a throw back onto the bowler's end. And the second time around, she hits the stumps with her head in trying to collect the ball. And here again, I think putting the field tighter and closer towards Ananya Singh would have paid off for that catch, and Bushra Ocha wouldn't have to cover that much ground this time around as well. Though the deliveries are coming, and it is about as dangerous as it gets for Ananya Singh. Austrian bowling this time around rather tidy as well. Just one extra given off the over. And it's 54 after 12 overs.
So now, if I'm not mistaken, we do have an international debutant coming onto bowl. This is Priya Ponraj, number 5. And right arm around. Not the start you'd want, but nobody said it was easy. Thrupp waits for it nicely and just nudges it into the covers for a straightforward single, which brings Singh back on strike, which I always look forward to because things tend to happen. It's either a extravagant miss, or when she does connect, it tends to fly quite some way.
Fascinating to see finally something else going on. It's a right arm bowler coming around the wicket and hits Ananya Singh on the glove this time. So I think Ananya Singh was expecting that one to travel through her for a wide, but hits her on the glove. And Ananya Singh probably might have think to change something along the lines for the next couple of deliveries here, as Ponraj comes into the next delivery. And she does have a very interesting line, slow deliveries, and of course very tricky as a batter if you get slow deliveries coming from right arm around the wicket to across the pitch basically, and then you cannot really find a way to connect on those. And once again here, tries to connect and just gets some piece of bat on it and runs through for a single, putting Thrupp back on strike.
Well, it's a nice, juicy, full one, and Thrupp takes the bait and finds the gap very, very well. Nothing the Austrian fielders could do about that, except watch it fly over the rope. There's Mexican waves on the Belgian boundary from those in the dugout. There's dancing happening. Anja Besto seems to have recovered from the disappointment of getting out and is joining in wholeheartedly. That's a short one to follow up. It'll just be the one more than likely. And that's the end of Priya Ponraj's first international over. An eventful one from around the wicket. Looking forward to the next.
Belgium now after 13 overs at 62 for 3 wickets down. And into the attack. Into the bowling is again Anisha Nukala from the Count's End, bowling to Nicola Trupp. And in rather good delivery, just some bat on that. Well collected by Tröbinger at fine leg. Who is now pushed a little bit rounder. And Nukala for the second delivery for this over to Ananya Singh now. And a good dot delivery this time. Straight into the covers to Bushra Ocha. Nukala is surely liking that one. And just hang on to the scoreboard at Pitch Vision. We are correcting that in as we speak. So there's a confusion if it's 61 or 63. And a good delivery from Nukala this time. Goes straight through Ananya Singh, who practices the shot after the delivery has been bowled now again. Let's see if that pays off in the next delivery.
And we're back to the plays and misses and bottom edges. And this is the kind of batting display that really annoys bowlers, because Singh has not looked on the whole entirely comfortable out there, but is hanging on like a barnacle. And is probably going to get a couple here if they'd run the first harder, but they didn't. Oh, runs starting to come very steadily now, at least when Thrupp is on strike. There's a straightforward single, and of course there's a fair share of gaps out there. And as we were saying yesterday afternoon, of course, probably doesn't matter all that much in the context of the match, as once again, there's only going to be one winner. And while we establish exactly what's happening with the score, I guess the question again will be just ultimately at the end of this innings, can Belgium go any better than they did yesterday? They scored 100 exactly in their reply in the second game yesterday, the first time they'd hit double figures. Now the question will be, can they just push a little bit past that this Sunday at Seabarn? Because they're going to want to finish with something positive to take back to Belgium. Priya Ponraj continuing, and Nicola Thrupp continuing to rotate the strike fairly easily. And you can definitely see how her batting's come along since yesterday's first match when she opened and Belgium's innings really wasn't going anywhere. you could just see what all that time in the middle yesterday has done in terms of batting confidence.
Ponrad certainly impressing as well a little with her line and length today. Bar that wide, of course. She's also putting a little bit the brakes down for the Belgium run chase, as they're not quite connecting onto her deliveries. The field setup is rather leg side-ish, what you would expect, because the bowler is coming right arm around the wicket. So bowling into the batter and not away from the batter. And here we have now some hanging in between long off, of course, long on and mid on, and a fielder at deep square leg. I think another fielder at deep fine might be helpful for right arm around the wicket. But the captain, Joanne, currently doing what, not the captain, but she's pretty much the acting captain right now on the field as she's setting the field and going through for the bowler changes. And a dot delivery. Trupp made to play on that one. But the foot firmly planted behind the crease as the bails are taken off by the skipper, Gandali Bapat. Priya Ponraj looking to run into the delivery once again. Right arm around. Comes onto it and collected at third man. Just a single off it. Once again, Ananya Singh on strike. One delivery. In this over left, the ball is being passed around a little bit until it finds the destination that is Priya Ponraj. Another good length. However, the line is this time a little bit off, and the umpire is not happy with that as he raises his arms and calls a wide. Field is pushed in a little bit closer this time around, so the Austrians expect something to happen from this delivery. Another wide, so Priya Ponraj has to repeat this ball once again. Joanne Stieglitz standing close to the bowler as she's giving her the ball. Probably just also giving some last words of motivation. High in the air this time. Lands safely again between two fielders. Another single to finish this over. Belgium now 70 of 15 overs for 3 wickets lost. We enter the final quarter of this match. 5 overs to go, but 119 runs ahead of us.
Well, if they can go at 6 and over from here, with 5 overs remaining, they'll be able to surpass what they achieved yesterday and get into 100 and beyond territory. As Singh takes strike, and she's given up a few chances. Zepeda will just be wanting to see those stumps fly when you see a player miss it as often as Singh has. But in that case, it was an okay shot. She's also hit quite a few up in the air on the leg side in this match situation where it would be fun to take more wickets and perhaps the run rate doesn't matter too much. You almost feel like it would be nice to just put another fielder exactly where that ball's going to land, completing my point rather nicely. But once again, she's found that gap just beyond the ring in the direction of cow corner, although it wasn't actually Singh that hit that one. It's the only little spoiler there. Short from Zepeda and also wide down leg. They're going to snatch a single in addition. Plus the extra ball. Thrupp back on strike. Zepeda to bowl. This time played safely along the ground, making the fielders do some work. Valentina Avdolai throws it in. The strike keeps on rotating.
Yeah, indeed one of the better shots today as she plays it onto the ground. And straight to Andrea, who wants to have a hit at the stumps at the non-striker, but Trup again comfortably home. So no need to dislodge any of those things. On the stumps, wide called. Andrea is struggling to find her line today quite a bit. The length is on spot, but the line is all over the place. The skipper shouting, stay, stay, stay. No single on offer again. Dot ball. And this will be the last delivery of the over, if I'm not mistaken here. Unless it's a wide, of course. It's not a wide. It's a well-played shot to a fielder at away from the circle, away from the boundary. Yeah, lands safely, however. Single to finish the over. And that is Belgium at 77 for 3 wickets. After 16 overs, we have 4 overs ahead of us.
Well, off to a good start as far as going along at 6 and over all the way to the end is concerned. They got 7 off that one. Now having a good look at the scoreboard. Probably discussing the same we're discussing, which is what would be a nice total to take home, even if we're not going to win this game. All about packing positives into your luggage as you travel back to Brussels this Sunday afternoon, as Belgian cricket builds on this start as a women's international team. I think are they just waiting for the scoreboard to be updated? There is some delay here. Whatever the problem was, it's been rectified. And another big old swing from Singh, who almost gives up halfway down the pitch there. There was a long hesitation. They finally went for the run. And another goes into the book, not without its share of drama.
So as we enter the last 4 overs of this match and of the series, of course, Joanne has 2 overs left, including this one. And Valentina Avdolai, the opening bowler for Austria, has 1 over to go. And Malika has 2 overs left herself. So there is still a little bit of bowling to come. Joanne gives this one a bit of flight and a height. Ananya Singh pushes it over the top to backward square, deep backward square leg, and Andrea Mezepeda collects it from there rather comfortably and throws it back. Just a single. And this time around it's towards fine leg. And it's a 4 at deep fine leg. And we watch the Belgian-Mexican wave.
Who knew they were so good at Mexican waves in Belgium? I knew they were good at chips and waffles and beer that doesn't taste awful because it's got raspberry syrup in it. They love a good Mexican wave as well. Even if it's only a miniature one performed by the bench. Now that one's gone straight through the fielder, so they're going to think about 2 here. They are running for just about everything, and why not indeed at this stage in the game? But they will settle for the 1 here. Again, for this over, well on their way to that 100-plus score if they can keep up this rate. and straight to the fielder, but once again, they dare to run, and plenty of time in the end.
Last 3 overs to go for the series. Austria will win this series 3-0 unless something out of the crazy happens. Now back on to the bowling attack is Malika to finish off probably... No, sorry, it's number 7. It's Ashman Saifi back onto bowl. And Joanne Stiglitz is also handing her the ball and taking her cap with it. Field setting is something similar to the previous overs. We have only somebody in no man's land between mid-deep, mid-wicket and mid-wicket. There is a shot towards long off this time, and long off is on boundary, so it lands safely. Nicola Thrupp back on strike. And now, of course, the field is pushed back. They are expecting big shots from her, so mid-off is in, but long on is out. And this delivery was wide, but falls safe from the boundary. Belgium able to get 2 runs from this. Umpire indeed calls it a wide, so that's 3 runs of 0 deliveries. Ashman Saifi on top of a mark once again. And this time it's a wide on the other side of the pitch. It's outside the off stump a bit too far. And umpire happy to raise his hands once again. Austria now 2 point something overs away from a serious win. And of course, still have to work on these wides and extra issues that they still have from the Belgian series. And this time, mid-wicket collects it rather calmly and easily. And there was a run-out chance certainly here, but the throw back to the bowler's end is rather slow and on the ground. Batters make it back comfortably. Single taken. And Ashman Saifi takes a wicket. Bowled is Ananya Singh. She departs now after a lengthy innings today. She had 17 of 46 deliveries and will be rather happy with herself for that performance. 46 deliveries faced and is bowled out.
Yeah, we've kind of been waiting for that to happen with the number of swings and misses we've seen from her, and I think Austria will be particularly happy to see the back of her because it was one of those irritating innings where you thought we should have sent her back long ago. But still, a fair few runs, a decent contribution, not at the fastest rate, and to be fair, she stuck it out, made the most of the chances that she had, and we'll certainly have some positives to take away. And out in the middle, I think this is Shirin Diaz, number 7. She is the born and bred Belgian in the team. I'm told just about the only one. Dutch speaker, or Flemish speaker to be precise. I'm going to come back for a couple here. As the new arrival gets a scurry on to take the strike once again. And Belgium looking very well positioned now to go beyond their 100 that they made yesterday and register their highest score yet in women's international T20 cricket. That's got to be given because she didn't have her bat down in time, so a very short stay at the wicket from Shireen Diaz and some sharp work behind the stumps for Gandali and Mai. She has had a good day behind the stumps, hasn't she?
Indeed, she has, and who wouldn't be happy with a stumping to finish, or to rather start finishing off the match? That's 2 wickets in an over for Aishman Saifi. She will be happy with that performance. She had looked a little bit all over the place earlier today, but with this delivery straight through the keeper, and Shireen a little bit out of her ground, isn't back early enough to make her ground, and Gandali Bapat dislodging the stumps with a swiftly throw this time, and is of course excited about that stumping. In comes now with number 3. That's Jenny McLean. And she will be looking into scoring some of the similar runs as she did yesterday off the bat. She had a good outing yesterday in the second match. And now it's once again a brilliant delivery from Ashman Saifi to finish off that over. She took two wickets in this over. And overall, a rather satisfying performance for Ashman Saifi, who is brought into this match, who didn't play yesterday, and can make dents into the Belgium batting lineup. And now into the attack, the opening bowler from Austria, Valentina Avdelay. They are, of course, looking for more wickets here. Valentina will be keen to get into the wickets as well. She has a very good economy rate, but she hasn't taken a wicket yet today. And she certainly has deserved at least one of those today. But is cut away. Does the ball go for just shy of the boundary, and 2 runs for Nicola Trupp.
Yeah, much tidier today from Valentina. Bowled genuinely well earlier on, and we'll be just looking for a strong finish to take into the off-season now as she completes her spell, or her allotted overs. Here at the check end. Well, that was edgy, and not for the first time as far as Avdelay is concerned. Picks up an edge. We saw this a little bit earlier as well. She had quite a memorable battle with Bierstow as well. As you say, Suraj does deserve a wicket. Again, there's a clear moral victory to the bowler, but unfortunately it's a couple of runs that result.
A little bit change in the field for the Belgium skipper this time around. There is a third man pushed deep, and a run-out chance, but a little bit of a mishap with the throw this time. A wide is being called as well. So we had a bit of a mix-up all around. The batters running in between the wickets didn't quite know what to make of it, and keeper Gandali Bapat throwing the ball as well, quite over the stumps. Could have been a run-out chance at her stump side already. So offside field, not so much this time around, but makes sense if you look at the type of bowling currently. More leg side field. This shot straight to a fielder, just a 1. And the Austrian field skipper, so to say, Joanne Steglitz, pushing her field a little bit closer this time around for the Belgium captain, and who is also playing it to the leg side.
With the Belgian 100 now having come up, they get back for 2, and they are into uncharted territory as far as a international batting side is concerned. Very nice to see their scores improving as this first weekend of international T20 cricket has proceeded. a word, an idea, a spot of encouragement from Joanne Stiglitz. Let's see what it produces here. Again, a moral victory to the bowler, but again, despite the direct hit on the stumps from Priya Ponraj down there at short third, there ain't going to be a wicket. It brings Janie McLean back onto strike, and because I'm not going to have much more chance to share this anecdote, I have to tell you now, I had a chat with her last night, also South African, like Thrupp at the other end. Originally from Cape Town, grew up in the Cape Point Nature Reserve at the very tip of Africa, where her father was a lighthouse keeper. Once again, you've just got to love the stories you pick up in the weird and wonderful world of international cricket. We have the daughter of a lighthouse keeper on strike at the end of that over.
Wonderful stories indeed. And we enter the last over for this series, which has been quite an eventful series for both teams involved. The teams have seen the first T20 International 100. In that case, it was Austria. We have seen the first T20 International 50 for Belgium. We have seen a lot of runs coming from the bat of Andrea May Cepeda, but we have seen also valid batting support from the other end for Andrea, be it in the forms of Bushra Ucha, be it in the form of Joanne Stiglitz. Both have provided a valid valid support on the other end. And this time it's Andrea Tröbinger for Rafaela Tröbinger for her first ever international over. And she starts with a really good delivery and makes the Belgian captain Nicola Trop almost fish for that and edge it to Gandali Bapper on the keeper. Played to deep square leg, collected by Andrea May Cepeda, and Rafaela Tröbinger collects it at the bowler's end. For the lack of height, she does not lack any energy here. Just runs in from, I would say, 15 paces, high jump, and a good delivery again. Is a run out, almost a run out chance at the bowler's end. She's bowling interesting lengths. I think a bounce here and there would be quite crucial as well, as she could get the ball to nip away from the batsman. This time around, however, it's a no ball as the ball lands off the pitch.
So it looks like we're going to have one last free hit for this series. Rafaela Tröbinger, who started this over, almost looked like almost started with a wicket against what is Belgium's star batter. Just beginning to struggle a little bit as the over is continued. Her first international over, let's remind you. And once again, makes Thrupp look a little bit silly. Now, what we're already learning about Rafaela is that her good balls can trouble the opposition's very best. .108 the score now for Belgium. Can Janie McLean add any? That should be a catch, but that's just this fingertip stuff for Gandali, the wicketkeeper, who, as we said, has had a pretty good day behind the stumps. Unusual chance there for a keeper. Unfortunately, doesn't quite go to hand. The good news is, although it would have been great for Rafaela Tröbinger, it doesn't matter at all for Austria. They haven't managed to claim that last wicket. They are going to win handsomely again. Although it's going to be by 2 figures this time, as opposed to a massive margin of three figures as we've seen in the previous games. So something to think about and something for Belgium to celebrate. And there's another wide, so this last over is being a little prolonged. The victory margins yesterday, 119, 113. Can't do the maths right now, but this is going to be double figures. Somewhere south of those numbers. I thought they might go for two there, and they did indeed. It was very, very risky, but why not when it is this stage in the game? Indeed, the very last ball of the game and the last ball of the series as Austria complete another series, another win, making it 3-0, and at least Belgium end this on something of a high with their highest score yet in the series, progressing nicely across the weekend as a newcomer nation to women's T20 international cricket. But we must say, gratuliere Österreich. Thanks for being with us, and vielleicht eine kurze Zusammenfassung auf Deutsch Suraj. From me, Richard Asher, goodbye.
Österreich gewinnt 3:0 gegen Belgien. Haben wir normalerweise im Fußball gehofft, im Cricket ist es der Fall. Die österreichische Nationalmannschaft der Damen schlägt die belgische Cricket-Nationalmannschaft der Damen mit 3:0, 3 Spiele gewonnen. Und Österreich wird eine Series feiern, die es in sich hatte. Das erste internationale 100 von Andrea Cepeda wurde gefeiert. Die ersten 190 und drüber Runs für Österreich. Generell Österreich mit dem Schläger sehr gut unterwegs. Mit dem Ball wird man sich noch einiges überlegen müssen. Viele Wides, viele No-Balls. Das Fielding, sprich die Feldballaufhebekunst, die war auch für Österreich sehr gut. Das heißt, hier definitiv eine Verbesserung verglichen mit den deutschen Spielen. Von uns vielen Dank. Wir sind raus.